Hello and welcome to the Faba Group. Today's topic is group. How do we handle group? And so let's get right into it. There's a lot of chicken scratching on the board here, so you just have to. That's just so I can kind of remember where I'm at. That being said, so when we go into group, especially in the healthcare sharing world, there's some different ways that we set things up, and really you have to figure out what philosophy or ideology you want to follow as a group. Are we going to do more of a defined benefit contribution or defined benefit offering, or are we going to do more of a defined contribution amount? So if we look at defined benefit, a defined benefit usually has it within it a component of a defined contribution. Either we're going to pay all of it for the employer, and most employers rarely cover it for dependents and spouses and so on. But what's the amount we're going to spend? Is it a percentage of the cost? Is it a dollar amount? So that being said, then we have on the other side of the aisle, the defined contribution, and based upon what you're trying to set up in your company will determine maybe which way you go. There are some companies that do more of a cafeteria type model, which is more of a defined contribution. It's a little bit different setup. And anyway, so you have to figure that out. So either one of them typically in today's market never incorporate healthcare sharing as an option. And if you just put healthcare sharing in as an option against health insurance and you don't position it correctly, and we'll explain that in detail when and if we have the opportunity to sit down and talk to you. If you don't position it correctly, people will go back to what they know, health insurance. And you're like, well, we offered healthcare sharing, but nobody got on it. There's a way to position it. So as a company, you have to figure out, number one, what way we're going to go, how we're going to offer it, or are we going to offer it as a hybrid? We've got companies that offer both models within their organization. So as a company, are we trying to cut cost or give better benefit? When we say cut cost for you, the employer, and or the cost for the employee if they're trying to add their spouse and dependents on. That's where the big, punch in the gut is when you go to try and add your spouse and children onto a health insurance model. It's just brutal. So we got to figure that out. Are you trying to lower the cost for you and or everybody, employees included, and or are we just trying to improve the benefits and or combination? I would think everybody's trying to do a combination, better benefit, lower cost, but we'll find that out. So when we're going to do a defined model, couple of things. The setup is going to be a little bit different with healthcare sharing versus health insurance, and I'm just going to run through these. We don't have enough time for me to get into depth of each one. That's why we come out and sit down and find out, what are you trying to do? Here are the plans. How do you want to set it up? And then we can get into the specifics of it. But to try and cover every specific, oh my gosh, we'll be here another 2 hours, and So the rates and understand there's faith-based sharing models, non-faith-based sharing models. And I'm going to reference the two. The rates for a non-faith-based model are pretty good for groups. We have a defined benefit plan that we have in a group setting for sharing, non-faith-based. Rates are pretty good compared to an individual standalone in that same product offering. So the rates on faith-based, depending on what one you're using, can be pretty good. We can do list bills, and there's a whole methodology of how we do that. A spending account versus an HSA, depending on if you're using health insurance, not all of the health insurance plans are HSA compatible. Healthcare sharing, none of them are. Even our non-faith-based program is not HSA compatible, so we say use a health spending account, an HSA health spending account, okay? No tax benefits. We'll tell you how to deal with that. Annual renewals in a group non-faith-based model program that we have, they do have annual renewals. But typically when you're doing faith-based programs, and typically you'd have to be usually a very small company that all of the people are faith-based, that would adhere to the Judeo-Christian worldview as far as their life and how they do things. So that being said, it's rare that you have an all faith-based offering within a company. Y'all with me on that? So, and then we're going to figure out within this, if we do defined benefit, or what are some of the other things we're going to offer? Are we going to offer an HRA, health reimbursement arrangement, that could run alongside a sharing model, or both a faith-based or non-faith-based, and would pick up maybe some of the things that are shortcomings or not taken care of in the sharing program? So there's a lot of, what are you trying to do? What are some circumstances? There's a lot of Q&A that goes into setting up your plan, a lot of it. We're setting up a QSERA, a MEC, DPC, multi-provider, direct care. What things are we going to add to this model? Let's go over to the flip side here, the defined contribution. It's a little bit simpler on the employer's side to set this up, because essentially all you're doing is saying, I'm gonna rate your salary up for a non-insurance model, healthcare sharing. You're just going to rate up their salary. Okay, you get all the tax deductions, but you're going to have a little bit addition with your Social Security match and so on. That being said, so you're going to rate up the salary. Very simple. The administration part of it falls on the employee, and we'll talk about that. So there's really no annual renewals with a non-faith-based individual sharing program or the faith-based sharing program. So all of that craziness that certain time of the year that you do for health insurance is eliminated. Simple for budgeting. You get the power to choose. The individual gets to basically build the plan around what we call their station in life. And you have to watch the video if you don't understand what that is. Station in life is different for everybody. So instead of taking a health insurance plan that's a one-size-fits-all, that is, we think, an incorrect way to do healthcare, instead of offering that, give the people the power to choose what plan makes the most sense. Now, some people don't want to choose because they don't want to deal with it. They don't care. Some people actually would like to have a plan that makes more sense for where they're at in life. Okay? Less cost. Your healthcare sharing programs, faith-based healthcare sharing programs are typically 50 to 75% less in cost than health insurance models. Even the self-funding, we can probably cut your cost in half. A little more education and administration. Like I said before, that gets pushed off to the individual to take care of. You as an employer don't probably want to learn the nuances of all the sharing components. Leastwise, we haven't found that to be true yet. There might be one, but most of them really don't want to deal with it. It would be better for the employee because it's their personal plan, and we understand the plans. We understand what plan they have and how it works. To try and explain it to someone else that, they got a lot of other stuff they're doing at work, that's probably the last thing they want to do is learn that so they can explain it to their people. Just doesn't happen that way. So a little more education. The rush to choose is kind of over. Like the health insurance, the annual, the renewal time, everyone freaks out. We don't really have that. Most people they get on a sharing plan, and it's kind of that old Ronco commercial, set it and forget it. You kind of do that with healthcare sharing. It's like there's no renewals. It's simple. Out of the game, we kind of alluded to that. It's just nice as an employer to get out of the game, because we know what the game is. In the insurance world, every few years we got to come in and there's a new plan because this one inched up in price. There's a new plan here. This is better. We move everybody over to this plan. Next year 2 years later it'll be on something else, and it's always a constant moving around. But the result is typically always the same: higher deductibles, lower benefits, higher cost. We're just always trying to migrate to the lowest cost. Just get out of the game. Simple. Rates on the non-faith-based in an individual setting are a little bit higher than, they are higher than the group setting for that same organization. That being said, if you get on a faith-based program, depending on which one, we think they're very inexpensive. Shortcomings, I guess, if you will, is you're kind of on your own. Going back to a little more education, on your own is, don't let that be a bad thing, the good part of that is if you have somebody that can help you, a guide, a helper, somebody can answer all your questions, and that's really all you need. You don't have questions every day. Every so often when something happens, you're quiz, well, this might be going on, I need to talk to somebody, call us up. That's how simple it is. We're not in another country with phone centers that they can't understand the English. Not being mean, I understand business, but we think people need personal service on this because it is a big decision for them, and they want to feel comfortable that they made the right decision and somebody can help them when they have need. That's what we're here for. So the whole idea, by offering healthcare sharing, this is our opinion of it. Instead of taking your money and giving it to the health insurance institutions, or what we talked about in our first video, the institution, instead of giving your money to those folks for benefit that you're probably never going to see because they know how to price it so they make a lot of money. Y'all figured that out. They're doing fine. Why keep giving them money? Why not hold on to your money best you can? Buy what we call catastrophic or more simple, skinny plans that are designed to, if I got a hospital need, I need an operation, I'm going to go in and they're going to take care of it. It's very simple. It's not full of a bunch of pork, a bunch of fat, whatever the word you want to use. It's not full of a bunch of benefit that you're not going to ever see. Health insurance is full of a bunch of stuff that you're never going to see the benefit of. You're paying for stuff, men being pregnant. Why are you paying for it? It's illogical. So that being said, buy catastrophic, put your money into wellness, and we'll have a whole video series about how you can, take some of that savings and move it over into a wellness model. So the catastrophic stuff is further and further in between. We can catch stuff early, be more preventative, and we'll talk about that. And or take your money, pay off your debt, pay off stuff, and save it, put it in the cookie jar, put it in the health spending account so it's available. Going back to what we said, keep your money. When the event occurs, then you come out of pocket. You'll 99.999% of the time, you always win in that endeavor. Very rarely do you get on an insurance plan that it pays out a whole lot more than you're going to pay into it. So that being said, it's a lot to digest. I understand that. We've been doing this a while. We think about it all the time. We're a little wigged out about it a lot of times, but we have such a great offering, we believe. It's just an unkept, it's one of the best kept secrets. We believe that, and we're trying to get the message out, tell people to get off the institutional models, move to a much more simpler, inexpensive model and way of doing healthcare. That being said, if you have questions, and oh my gosh, you're going to have a ton of them. If you have questions, you need help, you want answers, you want to schedule something, you want to talk to us, reach out to us at the FABA group and we will take care of you. That being said, we'll see you on the next video.